support and resistance. Now, in order to understand support and resistance well enough, we need to ask ourselves these questions. Where is price coming from and where is price going to? These questions would help us to understand support and resistance much better. Now, I would like us to look at support and resistance like a bus route. Let's assume a bus is moving from point A to point B. So that means that we must know where the bus is coming from and then where the bus is going to. Now, in between where it's coming from and where it's going to, there are going to be bus terminals, bus stops in between. Now, once you can identify these bus stops, these bus terminals in between point A to point B, then you will be able to easily follow that bus from where it's coming from to where it's going to. And then these bus terminals, these bus stops are what we call support and resistance. Very key. And that's how you'll be able to read the foreign exchange charts like a pro. Very, very key, very, very important. Right? Now look at it also like a tug of war. Support and resistance is a tug of war between the buyers and the sellers. The buyers are trying to pull the price up, right, to one side, while the buyers are trying to pull the price to the other side. And that's why when the buyers make money, the sellers lose money. And in this case, from the pulling, as you can see, anybody that wins, the other person is falling into the pit. And that's why buyers or sellers don't want to lose money at the end of the day, right? Now, this also can be seen when we talk about the bulls and the bears, also known as the bullish market and the bearish market. The bulls are the buyers that we just talked about, and the bears are the sellers. So we have the bulls and we have the sellers. Now, we are going to explain this support and resistance much better looking at the relationship between supply and demand. Supply and demand. Now, this doesn't mean that you must have read finance or econs or any of those topics whatsoever. But supply and demand is something that happens to everybody on a daily basis. Think about it. The season for something, if you want to travel, and that season is a season when a lot of people are traveling, obviously what do you think would happen to the rate of plane tickets? It will be high, it will be expensive, right? And that means that what happens? Demand is more. Think about the opposite when we have supply being more. So when it comes to the relationship between the supply and demand, we need to be able to answer these questions. Now, what happens when supply is greater than demand? And also what happens when demand is greater than supply? First of all, let's look at what happens when supply is greater than demand. What happens to price? Because everything has to do with price at the end of the day. Is the price going to go up or is the price going to go down? And then we can look at a few examples here. Now, this is for supply greater than demand. Now look at it this way. You sell cars. You have a lot of cars for sale, right? But then you don't have enough buyers. Now, what do you think you're going to do to the price or the prices of your cars that you have for sale? You're going to bring the prices down, obviously. So that means that when supply is greater than demand, the prices are going to fall. And we have other examples that we can look at when it comes to supply greater than demand. Look at it this way. When it comes to something seasonal, as an example, let's look at tomatoes. Tomatoes is in season now, and we have lots of tomatoes. So we have lots of sellers of tomato, but then the buyers are not much. What do you think the tomato sellers will do? The tomato sellers will most likely bring the price down and even give you like buy one get one free so that they can sell faster. So basically, when it comes to supply being greater than demand, the price goes down. Very simple. I hope you understand that, because if you understand this explanation based on supply and demand, the relationship between the two, to help us to understand support and resistance better. And don't forget, we set support and resistance at the bus stops for the bus routes, and this would help us to know where to enter as a buyer or where to enter as a seller. So the next one is what? Demand greater than supply. What happens to price when demand is greater than supply? There are lots of examples that we can use for this as well. But let's use this example first of all. Think about an auction where we have a lot of people trying to buy just one thing. And as they're trying to buy the one thing, obviously we all know that it is the highest bidder. And that's why the price, right, keeps on appreciating. The price keeps on appreciating, and then what happens? This obviously has to do with when the demand is greater than supply, when the buyers are greater than the sellers. And we have lots of examples out there. Think about when we have like the fuel scarcity. When we have fuel scarcity, we have a lot of people that are looking for that for one thing or the other. It could be for their cars, it could be for their generator set, or whatever the case might be. And obviously the price of petrol is going to appreciate, right? So when demand is greater than supply, the price goes up. We need to understand these things. It will help us to see the charts for what it really is, right? Now, who can answer this question? We've just talked about when supply is greater than demand, and also when demand is greater than supply. Who can answer the question, what happens when supply is equals to demand? What happens to price? I'm sure you are over there screaming out that the price moves sideways, right? The price consolidates or the price ranges. These are the terms that you'll be hearing when it comes to the foreign exchange market. Now, if you look at what we have over here, this is how a chart looks like. This is how it looks like when it comes to a ranging market, where you have the market moving sideways, right? And you can see the support is where the price goes up, and the resistance is where the price goes down. You can also look at this like a floor that has a ground and also a ceiling. The ground is where the price goes up, assuming you were to jump. And when you jump and you get to the ceiling is that resistance where the price now falls, right? So don't forget, we said based on supply and demand, this would help us to understand where to enter the market as a buyer or where to enter the market as a seller. And obviously, this sideways movement is not going to happen forever. Something's going to happen at the end of the day. There's going to be a breakout, either a breakout to the upside or a breakout vice versa to the downside. Now, assuming the price breaks out to the upside, meaning that it's breaking out of that ceiling, which is the resistance. Once it breaks out to that ceiling and then moves to the floor above, I hope I'm painting a picture, and then moves to the floor above, let's assume it's first of all on the 50th floor, and then it moves to the floor above 51. That has already given you the impression that the price is appreciating, is moving higher. And as it's moving higher, you want to follow the trend, and then you want to buy. Now, where are we supposed to buy? We already concluded that we should be buying at the support. Now, that resistance that was broken, the other side now turns to support. So that means that we have a breakout first of all, and then we have what? A pullback to that area of new support where buyers are waiting for. Don't forget, we just talked about the bus routes, using supply and demand to explain support and resistance. So once you understand this, you already know the bus terminals, you know the bus stops, where to stop to enter the bus if it's moving higher, or to enter the bus if it's moving lower. So for the vice versa, once it breaks out of the support, the other side now becomes the resistance, and then there's a pullback or a test to that area of resistance, and then we place our trade to sell. I hope it's getting clearer. And then it's looking more and more like we know where to enter the market to buy, and also where to enter the market to sell. And we can also identify this support and resistance levels using highs and lows. Once the market starts to move using highs and lows, meaning that we have a high, and then we have a higher low, and then we have a higher high, and then a higher low, and then a higher high in an uptrend. And in a downtrend, we have a low, and then you have a high, and then a lower low, a lower high, lower low, lower high, and so on. So once you can identify this support and resistance using these highs and lows, or they're also known as peaks and valleys, it's going to help you to understand how the market moves. And when you understand how the market moves and you look at any chart today, trust me, by the time you switch to any chart today on any time frame, you should have a good understanding whether it's an uptrend or a downtrend. Now, looking at this example here, this is an uptrend, and this uptrend that you can see here, obviously we know the market is being controlled by the buyers. We know that the demand is greater than the supply over here. So that means that most likely we want to be buyers. And as we want to be buyers on this chart by the way is what you call a naked chart. There is no drawing whatsoever on the chart. There is no indicators, nothing whatsoever on the chart. But now we know we want to buy. So ask yourself this question, which is very key, and I want you to stare at this chart after hearing this question. Can you identify the support and the resistance levels? They're called levels or zones or areas. So can you identify the support and resistance levels, areas or zones? If your answer is yes, then you must already know what you want to do and where you want to do that thing. And that's why once you look at any chart, you will be able to interpret what is happening, and then you'll be able to take advantage of this market. This is an example of an uptrend, and I'm sure you have an idea where the support and the resistance levels are. And then when you look at this example of this downtrend, I'm sure you should also have an idea where the support and the resistance levels are and what you want to do and where you want to do it. So in a nutshell, support and resistance helps us to identify where, that question where to enter the market. We enter the market to buy at the support, and then we enter the market to sell at the resistance. So that question where is very key. You must always know where you are entering the market. You are entering the market to buy because the trend is up. You are entering the market to sell because the trend is down. Very simple. So start today. Identify this clean chart first of all, showing the uptrend or the downtrend, and then identify your support and resistance. Trust me, as a pointer, as a quick tip, the cleaner the chart, that is the cleaner the uptrend or the cleaner the downtrend, the easier it will be for you to see the bus routes, for you to see the bus terminal, for you to see the bus stops, for you to see the support and resistance. Train your eyes, watch this video a couple of times, and then cross over to your charts and then look for what the market is trying to tell you. Support and resistance is very key, and that is why whenever you have your support or resistance, just like in the previous video that we made, you can now find your candles. You can find your candles at those places of support or those places of resistance. If you remember in the previous video where we talked about some key candlesticks like the hammers or the engulfings or dojis, when you find them at these key places, like a bullish hammer telling you to buy, you find it at a support in an uptrend, do not hesitate. Take that trade, set your stop loss and your take profit parameters, and let the market do what it has to do. This is what I have been doing for years, and this is what has been working for me. Do this, watch the video, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share with your friends, and don't forget to hit the like button. Also put a comment below and I'll respond and answer any question that you might have. I want to say thank you for watching this video. Thank you for learning, because the only way to grow in life is through education, is through learning. And after learning, you need to practice. You have any questions, on the comment section below, write your questions. I'll get back to you. Don't forget to subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye for now.